we're going to make a silkscreen using a stencil. One thing that you should know before you start making a silkscreen with a stencil is that the shapes of the images you need should be pretty simple and not too detailed or textured. This example here, it's just a simple shape. It's flying squirrel. He has a general shape on the outside that won't be too complicated for me to cut a stencil. So another thing you'll need to know is that each color that you want to print in your silkscreen needs to have its separate stencil and also a separate screen. So for this image, I have two colors that I want to print. I got brown and I have black. For what I'm going to do for this print is print two colors, the brown and the black, in different methods. The brown is going to be done in a stencil. The black is going to be done using a drawing fluid method. So this one is going to be the stencil. So first you just need to take 2 copies of the image, 1 copy for each color you want. I'm going to put one aside for now. And once you get 1 copy, you're going to take a piece of contact paper and attach it using tape to the side of the contact paper that has the grid on it. And then put it on top of a self-healing mat, and then cut out the shape that you'd like for this particular stencil. This one's going to be brown, so I'm just going to cut out the basic shape of the squirrel without any details. In this case, the black is going to be layered on top of this. So I'll just be aligning them later. So this big shape is going to be a base for the black that's going to lay on top. Okay, so I'm done cutting out the squirrel stencil, and I'm going to peel this away. And again, this is going to be the stencil that's going to print brown. Now, my piece of paper that I'm going to print on is going to go underneath the screen like this. So, I want the squirrel image to face that way when I actually go to print it. So I need to turn this over and stick the image to the back of the screen. So I'm going to peel away the backing. If you have any sort of details, then you have to be really careful when you're trying to peel the screen off, or the film off, because it will rip if you're not. This one's being a little difficult. Hopefully yours won't be this problematic. This really isn't supposed to take this long. I'm going to come back after I get this. Okay, so I got the backing off of my stencil, and now I'm going to put it onto the silkscreen. And it gets applied to the side of the silkscreen that is going to make contact with the paper when you're printing it. So right now that side's facing up. The stencil, make sure it's going the right direction. And apply it so that you don't have air bubbles. And try not to get gaps on the sides where it meets the frame. Let's see, I'll put something in there. Make sure it's stuck down everywhere. And then you're going to add tape to all 4 edges of the stencil. And we're doing this to cover any gaps between the stencil and the frame so that ink doesn't go through when you print it. And also to hold the stencil down. So now we're going to turn it over, and the stencil should look the same as it did when it was cut out. It should be the same direction. So now I'm pretty much ready to print, except I need to set up my registration for my paper. So it doesn't really matter the size of the paper as long as it fits under the screen, but you're going to need to find a way so that the paper is in the same place every time you print it. So you're going to need registration guides. The registration guides are basically little clips that the paper slips into. You can lay a piece of tape down, try to make it generally pretty straight. If you want it to be completely straight, if that's important, if it's really straight on the paper, you can measure it. I'm going to put 2 on the bottom, and then I'm going to put 1 on the side. So now for this first layer of brown, every time I put a piece of paper in, it'll be lined up the same way, so each one will be the same. Just like that. So now I'm ready to print. Here's how the registration guides should look when they're on. They're taped on the bottom and taped on the top. So the paper just slips right in.